Welcome to today's AMA. My name is Robin Leonard. I'm the CEO and co-founder of AFDigital. AFDigital is an 11-year-old, 100-employee Salesforce consulting practice. We also do MuleSoft, and we do the full kind of ecosystem of Salesforce with a few strengths. So we're particularly strong at Salesforce CRM and Marketing Cloud. And we're also a MuleSoft partner as well. So we've had a bit of experience in the game. The purpose of today's AMA is exactly what it is. It's an Ask Me Anything. So Ask Me Anything was made famous on Reddit, where it was kind of the theme was, I'm a doctor, ask me anything. And it would create a really rich thread of questions and answers. So that's the purpose of today, is really to allow you guys to ask me anything. So I've got very wide knowledge around Salesforce. I know how the licensing works. I know how a good project looks. I know what a bad project looks like. I know, I employ a lot of people that go through career paths with Salesforce. So if there are any questions, so please, if you can leave your questions. We're streaming across YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I believe the audiences in YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, they can leave comments. So if you want to ask your questions, I'm literally going to answer anything that you ask. So even if it's a personal question, I'm here to answer anything. So yeah, please let those questions come through. I know some of my team are watching, so if anyone wants to get a first question going, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll just start talking about anything I want. Great. So I'm going to start by just kind of posing a question. And this is a common question I get asked is, how do I start a career in Salesforce? And this is usually from a person that's doing something else, and maybe their career has been going okay, but they see that there's a huge amount of demand for Salesforce and it's a really exciting path, and maybe their career, they don't know where it's going with the future. So it's a really good opportunity to shift career sideways and start a Salesforce journey. So how to get started with Salesforce? The best thing to do is actually go to Trailhead. Trailhead is a free learning portal. It's like a LMS for Salesforce. And basically it has just unlimited content on Salesforce and general business knowledge. So that's probably where I'd get started if I was thinking about starting a career in Salesforce. Even once you get there though, it's not necessarily that easy to kind of figure out what you want to do, because there's just so much stuff there. You could learn about sales, service, marketing. You could go deep tech and go down development and architecture. So it's really a wide world. I think that the best place to start if you're coming from a career is not to forget the career you came from, but to recognize that that's actually your expertise. Salesforce, the best Salesforce person isn't just a Salesforce knowledgeable person. It's a person that knows about the industry where it's being applied. And they can then adapt. So say, for example, if I work in insurance, and I've been an insurance analyst for 10 years, and I know every single part of the insurance process. The best thing that a Salesforce career needs is actually that insurance experience. You just pair it with the relevant Salesforce experience. So say if I'm in insurance and I'm from a processing perspective, I may go into a company of the future and become a Salesforce admin for their Salesforce, where they use it for that. And maybe I administer the kind of the process behind it. Or maybe I come in as a business analyst or a process analyst, where I actually know all of those processes and I'm just adapting them to the Salesforce platform. So yeah, Lachlan, I know Lachlan's my team. Any questions, Lachlan? Anyone coming through? I'm not seeing any come through yet. So I'm just gonna keep rolling because I've got a bank of questions that I commonly get asked. So, but please don't be shy. If you've got any questions, throw them in the comments section, especially the viewers on LinkedIn. Don't be shy. Even if you want to ask something personal, am I single? I'm not gonna say unless I get asked. So, I think another question I commonly get asked is Salesforce expensive? And this is it's not necessarily a black and white answer. It can be expensive, but it's kind of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It really depends on your perception of what expensive is. The way I like to think about Salesforce is not as a kind of a physical asset or something that I invest in that sits there and makes money for me. It's the way I like to think about Salesforce is like an employee. So say I've got 100 employees, my 101st employee is Salesforce. And the amount of time and training and love I give it, the more valuable it is or more productive it is as an employee. And when I first get my Salesforce, it's kind of like a little child that doesn't really know how to do much. And so over time, I can train it. I can give it tasks to do. I can set up automations and it does more and more. When you first get that robot, it's kind of doing this for you. But then imagine if I can get it to do this 1,000 times and there's 1,000 arms, because by nature of technology, it's truly scalable. There's no limit to the amount of automations you can get a system to set up or to run. So that's really where Salesforce value is scaling. But if you kind of get it, and yeah, you can pay a lot of money for it and buy all the whiz-bang tools, but if you're not really using it at its potential and continuing to train it and to teach it things, then it's really not worth much. So a lot of people perceive Salesforce as expensive because they aren't getting value from it. And yes, it is expensive, but if you lean into it and get it to do all of those things, and it's actually creating monetary value for you, then you won't think it's expensive at all. The other part of this question is Salesforce, you don't have to buy the whole shebang. You can start with a small amount. Salesforce CRM is generally the place people start. My business started with Sales Cloud. We were using, I think, Pipedrive as our first CRM. And then we moved on to Sales Cloud. And we used that for many years in our sales team because we perceived it was too expensive to use across our business. So we had another system doing timesheets, another doing financials, another doing project management. We have all of these systems in our business because they feel like they're the best and most efficient. But over the years, and as we became a better Salesforce partner and started building out our own Salesforce stack, we actually started to build a single customer view in our Salesforce. And we've got notable, like from the year that we started doing that, our revenue just went up like that. So yes, Salesforce can be expensive and it can seem expensive, but it's kind of more about what you do with it than the cost of it that is the real answer. Great. Okay, thank you. We've got a question from Lachlan. What are the main benefits of a cloud solution like Salesforce? Well, yeah, great question. So a lot of the benefit is actually, there's a few different types of benefits. So one is you're limiting your liability of data breach. So that's you look at it like a compliance activity, but really if there's a 10%, or which is growing every day, of your data being breached, because you've got all sorts of different systems and you've got some people in Excel and people logging in all over the shop, if that data breach happens, then that could be millions of dollars, or it could be game over for the business. And you look at what's happening with Medibank at the moment. So one part of the ROI equation has to be your customer data protection. And I'm not saying Salesforce is unbreakable, because certainly, hackers of today, they have very advanced ways of getting in that aren't necessarily technical. Sometimes it's physical. They will con an employee, and then suddenly they'll get access in a way that no one could really have protected against easily. So that's one way to look at the value equation, is really what's the saving from the likely scenario of a data breach. And then there's the obvious stuff. So if I am, and you think about it across your different kind of parts of the business. So if I'm in the sales team and I'm using Salesforce Sales Cloud, and because of the automation, and because it requires less manual administration. That's the vision, at least, is that the system should help the salespeople sell better, so they should be more productive. So one salesperson, they may have had a quota of $1 million a year, but as the sales tools allow them to be more efficient and have better insights, their potential targets could increase to $1.5 million a year over time. So same number of salespeople, more sales revenue. That's the sales team. The service team, if you think about it in the same way, what if you had a service cloud and then you have chatbot on the website? So what used to happen is people would go to the website, see the phone number, call. That ties up the service agent for a good 15 minutes on that call, or 10 minutes, whatever it takes. And that means they can't service anyone else. There's also the niceties like, hi, how are you? Oh, how's your day going? Oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, have a great day. Is there anything else I can help you with? All of that stuff it's nice, and it's what customers like, but it's a lot of cost when you stack it up over phone calls. So they say that on average, the cost of receiving a phone call is about $15 per call. The cost of receiving an email is $10 per call. And if you do it on social media, it's actually $5 per call. And that's kind of just an anecdotal amount that Salesforce quoted once. So you've got this kind of like this major difference in the cost of those channels. And then you add a chatbot on top. And the chatbot, there's different levels of chatbot. You can get a chatbot that is just, hi, here's our knowledge, and very basic, and they can just kind of do basic kind of level one, like, oh, you need this, great, here is the public knowledge article on that, and then escalate to a human chat agent if they can't help them. That's a basic chatbot. And then you've got another level of chatbot, which is an authenticated chatbot. And Salesforce fully support this. This is very native, and it's really out of the box. Is if you have an identity tied up, so the customer is logged in on your website, maybe through an experience cloud, when they're chatting to that chatbot, they can start to say, hey, what's my order status for my last order? I haven't received it yet. And the chatbot, because it's authenticated, can go inside your CRM database and look for the answer within whatever data is secure for it to pass out, obviously. So things like order status, delivery status, case status, all of those kind of things. Has my case been resolved? Those kind of things can be handled by a chatbot. So going back to the ROI question, is I can have the same number of service agents spending time on the really sticky problems that a chatbot probably shouldn't be dealing with, while the chatbot is really adding value and even cross-selling, upselling through the chatbot as well. So that's, there's a whole ROI story about the future of service. And then, of course, marketing. And marketing automation is not a new concept. Everyone knows about customer journeys, customer lifecycle automation. But if you think about the bigger picture and why we're doing all of this, these are all details, but it's really about customer lifetime value. And so customer lifetime value is really the recency, frequency, monetary. So RFM, that's a very common set of letters. So when was the last time they bought from you is the recency. The frequency is how many times per year, and the monetary value is the amount per transaction. You take away the CAC, the customer acquisition cost, and you also take away the churn as well. and you can very quickly figure out what your customer lifetime value is. At the end of the day, Salesforce really, it should be used to increase the customer lifetime value. So I'm going to use it to reduce my cost of acquisition. So that sales cost, that should go down. I also want to increase the recency, frequency, monetary. And a lot of that is through marketing automation. It's by having excellent customer service experiences. All of those things will affect the RFM. And even word of mouth, you'll get new customers in, all of that kind of stuff. So massive benefits of using a solution like Salesforce to lower the cost of those channels, increase the customer lifetime value, and to also protect your customer data against data breach as well. Great question, Lachlan. Great. Any more questions from the crowd? It's good. Just getting warmed up here. Got some viewers there. Everyone's a little bit shy on a Thursday morning. We're going to be doing this every Thursday at 8 a.m. Today is a general one, but I'm also going to focus on different topics. So in the next session, I think we're going to be talking about if you're considering buying Salesforce, what are your questions? Like, what do you want to know considering buying Salesforce? That's a really good one. A lot of people are like, well, I've been on HubSpot for so long, my team love it. What happens if we go to Salesforce? Will my team love Salesforce as much as HubSpot? What am I missing out on? We get a lot of common questions about Salesforce product choices. So a really common question that I get asked, and it's every single project is, what form solution should I use? So every company has a contact us form, or they should, and a subscribe form, and then maybe a bunch of other forms on their website. And every single company, when they get Salesforce, they really need to tie those up so the data feeds from your website into Salesforce, and then people action it after that. So this is just 101 for Salesforce. But what do you do that with? So Salesforce has some native solutions. They have web to lead, web to case, those kind of tools, and they really just bring the data into Salesforce. It does the trick. There's a few limitations you need to be aware of, like web to case, and I'm not sure if I get this 100% right, but there's a volume limitation on the number of case form completions you can do per day. Web to lead, it has the same thing. You can't do attachments with web to case, I believe. So there's some reasons why you would be like, okay, wait, I need a kind of a more advanced form solution. So what we recommend, there's a few different options. Form assembly, form stack, those two are very similar products. They are really great general purpose form landing page solutions. So you can tailor them and make them beautiful and brand aligned. You can, they really fit well into Salesforce. So both of them have a drag and drop kind of connector, so that if you build a survey question, you can then tag it to a field in Salesforce. And it's really user-friendly. I've set up a whole bunch of them myself. I'm not a developer, that's not my background, I'm more functional. And I've got kind of enough skill to be dangerous with my Salesforce, but it's really simple. So I'd highly recommend every company look at a tool like Form Assembly or Form Stack. They're very affordable and they work really well with Salesforce. We are using Form Assembly for our or many of our surveys, and also our landing pages, our forms there. The key reason why you'd need to look at something like this is because of those attachments, or because you want it to look up in Salesforce before it creates a record. That's one thing web to lead does, is it won't look up. It'll just create a duplicate without any consideration. So it's quite smart. Great. All right. DGens Anonymous. Great. I find the whole Salesforce ecosystem quite confusing. Where is the best place to get an overview of all the products, please, in simple terms? Thanks. Love the content. Great. Excellent question. So it's not necessarily easy to get a full overview. I think YouTube is a good place to kind of get a look. There's really a few main products. So sales, service, marketing are kind of the three major areas to kind of look at first. And I would focus your awareness on them. Salesforce have a massive ecosystem. So, and their whole proposition is they really want to be the Swiss Army knife for a business, like the cloud Swiss Army knife. I've got everything generally here. So, and that's why it's so confusing, because you could be like, well, does Salesforce have and they'll have everything. There's a few things Salesforce doesn't have. They don't have an ERP like SAP. There's some partners like Financial Force actually that are an ERP, but natively Salesforce don't, and they don't have a point of sale system natively. But most of the other products they have. So DGen's Anonymous, it does depend on what you're interested in as to where I'd start my journey. But for the typical company, they typically start with Sales or Service Cloud, because that's the common problem is, oh, my sales team need a tool, or my service team need a tool, or I'd really like a chat and chatbot. And I've been looking around at Zendesk and a bunch of others, but I'd really like to look at a long-term solution that my whole company can move into. That being said, if you're coming at it from a marketing perspective, then I would look into Marketing Cloud, which has a number of products under it. And again, it really depends on your discipline. So if you come from, say, a marketing analytics perspective, then Datarama. If you come at it from an email marketing and marketing automation, then Marketing Cloud Account Engagement, they've just rebranded them, or Pardot, yeah, but under the Marketing Cloud umbrella. So if you kind of refined what your topic is a little bit into one of those key things, and then go to Trailhead or YouTube and just get a good view of that. If you're a potential client as well for Salesforce, you can always ask Salesforce. You can reach out to your account executive, and they can also talk you through the product stack at a very high level. And again, it's kind of about what you're interested in. So a lot of how you'll be talked to is like, tell us what your problems are. And then they'll be like, okay, great. But if you're also in a position where you just don't know and you're not ready to talk to Salesforce and maybe you need a bit more advice, then talk to us or talk to a partner. We're very much kind of the architect of how it is integrated into your business. So it's kind of like talking to an architect on the concept of your house before you talk to the builders or to the suppliers of the building material. So yeah, thank you. I hope that helped. DGen's Anonymous. Love the name. I'm a fellow degenerate as well. Great. Great question. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, I'm gonna throw another one out there. Maybe because it's relevant is how, as a Salesforce customer, how do I make sure that my Salesforce environment is secure? So this is a really timely one. Everyone is going through this nightmare. Fortunately, I haven't seen a Salesforce hack where it's been Salesforce's fault. Which is good. I mean, I've been working with Salesforce 11 years and there's been no kind of data breach associated with Salesforce that I'm aware of. But yeah, I'd be open if maybe I've got that wrong. So Salesforce isn't necessarily the security answer, but it's a secure place to hold your data. And as far as we know, Salesforce hasn't been breached at a company level. So within their power and their control and all of the tenants, because they imagine what they've got this massive database with lots of different tenants of each of their clients' data. So that's really a huge amount of risk for them, and so they haven't been breached. So that's really great. Salesforce, if you're using Salesforce as a client, there are some things that you should do, like setting up two-factor authentication. And that's, I believe, being enforced by Salesforce at the moment. So across all of their clouds. Another thing you should look at doing is setting up SSO. And if you have a kind of an SSO provider, an identity provider, we use Google Enterprise Cloud. We're on that for our SSO, but you can use Salesforce, you can use Okta, there's all sorts of identity providers that kind of keep things secure. That also makes sure that if an employee leaves, all of their access gets taken away. You don't leave some things open. Salesforce has a product called Salesforce Shield as well, which is an add-on to the license, and it just provides added protection onto your org, your instance, to make sure that there's kind of no security threats. There is also in Salesforce CRM in the setup, if you're an admin, there is a security health check. So I think that's what it's called. If you just search for security health check in the Salesforce CRM admin, in the back end, if you're just a user, you won't have access to that. So that's another place to go through and just review all of the items. It will give you a recommendation on, what the risks are. And then take that information and talk to either, if you have an architect internally, a certified architect, or talk to a partner like us, and we can give you advice on how to remedy some of those security threats. Outside of that, I would also, there's a whole bunch of things you should be doing, and you and the CIO or CTO should be very much aware of the Salesforce environment and the security protocol that's being applied to it. You have to make sure that your users are locked down. Like, you can't have just users willy-nilly, and that you can't leave them with access and have them doing other stuff and it not being relevant, because it just takes one employee to do a download, and you can do things like turn downloads off and things like that. So it's really worth having a specialist look at your org and make sure that it's been assessed for security risk, because it can be a huge potential cost. Great. Okay, we've got a question from Deanne Petrohilos. My question is relating to using Salesforce and Marketing Cloud together. We use Salesforce as the source of truth, whereby sending an EDM through Marketing Cloud, we look to a report that houses subscribers in Salesforce. Is this the best practice, or are we using it the wrong way? Oh, I love this question, Deanne. This is such a good question. So this is also a common question. So if I understand, your master of your customer is in your Salesforce CRM, and you're using Marketing Cloud as your messaging platform. Yeah, and so you would have had the MC connector set up between CRM and Marketing Cloud, so the native connector. And this is the best practice, what I'm saying. So in Marketing Cloud, you're using the subscriber key you're using should be the contact ID or the lead ID or the user ID from Salesforce CRM. So that is the best practice. The unsubscribe should be mastered in Salesforce CRM. So if I unsubscribe from here, it should flow back to Salesforce CRM. If I unsubscribe from CRM, it should also be reflected in Marketing Cloud, of course. Yeah, so that is the best practice. However, it's not necessarily the default setup. So unless you know what you're doing, having that flow correctly, and also especially the unsubscribes being mastered there, that requires a little bit of jiggery. So what we would typically recommend is using Cloud Pages to build your preference center or your unsubscribe page with your global unsubscribe, your preferences. That using AMP script, that should push back into the CRM where your customer is mastered. And it should also flow into Marketing Cloud in real time. So yeah, that is the best practice, is having Cloud Pages, Preference Center, CRM as the customer master and unsubscribe master, using the native MC connector, and then Marketing Cloud for the messaging and journeys. So I hope that is good. This is a common problem, and a lot of partners, when they start doing Marketing Cloud, we see this, they also make this mistake, because if you just install Marketing Cloud and kind of follow the standard process it, you'll use the native unsubscribe page, which is really just unsubscribing within Marketing Cloud. So that assumes the subscriber subscriptions mastered there. So yeah, so great question, Dan. I'm really glad you asked that. If you need any help, don't hesitate to reach out, especially the Preference Center, because that does require a bit of technical skills. You've got to use AmpScript to talk to Salesforce CRM. Not to say you have to, though. There are options where, say, if you had another survey tool or another landing page that does talk to CRM, you could send them to that. But you'd want to just be aware that there is sometimes a 15-minute delay in the flow of data between CRM and Marketing Cloud through the connector. And you'd want to really make sure that global unsubscribe is changed in Marketing Cloud. Great. I'm not the expert on this, but my business partner, Paul Chang, he's the OG of Marketing Cloud, and I hear him just over and over again, the same message. It's the same problem that all customers face when they try and connect Marketing Cloud and Salesforce CRM. So yeah, great. Thank you for asking that, Deanne. Great. Any other questions? I'll give it another 5 minutes. As I said, we're going to be doing this every Thursday, 8 a.m. Apparently Google said it's the best time to do a live stream. So any questions, if you want to think about your question and come next week with it, that would be great. I'm going to try focus the questions. So today again is general. Next time I think we'll be doing thinking about buying Salesforce. What do you do? Like, where do you get started if you're thinking about buying it? We're also going to do one really focused around customer lifetime value. So how do I actually achieve value out of Salesforce that I can go back to the CEO and say, hey guys, we've been tracking the ROI. This is what it is. Because a lot of people don't know how to do this. And a lot of people get focused on the tech and they're like, yeah, we've got to get a good CRM and make it really cool. And, but they don't think about why are we doing it? What value are we going to get from it? Great. So I'll do one more question. So please, if there's anyone that has a question, any question, even if it's a tricky question, if it's tricky, I'll probably just defer it. Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to ask myself a question. How do I find a partner? How do I find a Salesforce partner or select one that's good? So there are a huge variety of Salesforce partners out there in the ecosystem. And, I've had the pleasure of being part of the ecosystem. We started off in the Asia ecosystem and graduated to the ANZ ecosystem. We started as a little baby partner, and now we're one of the biggest partners that hasn't been acquired. Most of my competitors have been acquired by Deloitte, Accenture, etc., all these large organizations. So there's a few independent partners out there that similar size to us. But there's probably about 400 out there in the market that are doing stuff at varying sizes with varying expertise. Because Salesforce has such a wide ecosystem of platforms, 10 years ago, it used to be CRM and mostly Sales Cloud. So it was like, great, Sales Cloud. What do you want? Sales Cloud. Oh, where should I start with Salesforce? Sales Cloud. And then they added Service Cloud, and it was like Service Cloud, Sales Cloud. And then they added Marketing Cloud, and it started to just kind of spread out after there. So we actually started as a Marketing Cloud expert, and we leaned into Marketing Cloud, and Marketing Cloud really was a specialist skill set, and the CRM partners struggled to talk about Marketing Cloud because it required talking about things like CRO and SEO and social and all of these concepts, which were very different to CRM. So that's where we started our game. And, ever since we've grown and we've built a CRM practice, we've built a MuleSoft practice, we've kind of built all of these practices to support, at the end of the day, customer lifetime value. At the end of the day, we're just here to help people use Salesforce to acquire customers and retain customers and make more money. So that's our focus as a partner. But as I said, there's many other partners. So there's other partners that specialize in MuleSoft, specifically. And there's we have a couple of partners. There's Jarvis is the excellent MuleSoft partner. There's a whole bunch of them that just specialize in MuleSoft only. There's also a bunch of core partners that do core really well. So core is CRM, and they will come in and do your whole back-end digital transformation and transform your finance and operations, automation, all of those kind of things, because that's been their specialization. There's also partners that specialize in industry, like manufacturing, and each of the industries has a cloud pretty much now. So Salesforce have manufacturing cloud and financial services cloud and consumer goods cloud and nonprofit cloud and education cloud. It's honestly never ending. So the average partner can't be expected to know everything about every single individual industry and individual cloud. So that's where it's important to think, how do I find a partner that knows about my industry? How do I find a partner that knows about the clouds that I want to purchase? And how do I know a partner that's done similar implementations to me? Like, have they worked with a similar business to my business and done a similar implementation? So I know they're not cutting their teeth on me. They're not practicing, they're not learning. That's probably the biggest kind of three things to look for is industry, tech, and relevant experience. So outside of that, it's hard. It's hard to do services. If you think about, every company that buys Salesforce, they think, oh, great, I've done the hard part. I spent the big dollars. I'm the man. But actually, that's actually the easiest part. The hard part is changing your business. And you've got to do that with technology. You can't just buy the tech and assume that it's going to change your business overnight. You've got to lead the change. Like, the CEO has to be the one every day hounding on about Salesforce, because it's so important that they set a culture internally of that change happening. Where we see clients do it really well is where they do that and they care about it, and the CEO and the C-suite make a decision together that they are going to invest in a transformation based around Salesforce. That's the best scenario. The worst scenario is where a guy in marketing buys the licenses and he's the only one that cares about it because he knows he needs to do it, but no one else cares about it because they've got their big problems. They've got their big SAP thing and blah blah blah. So it kind of like, it can't be a small strategy. It has to be really big, front and center with investment. So when you're choosing a partner, you have to take this into consideration as well, as what are you going to do, and be upfront with them, because they need to know that you're also leaning into the project on your side. There's actually two projects that happen with any Salesforce implementation. There's your project where you have to have a person giving requirements and signing off UAT. You have to have a project manager that is scheduling, this is the date that we're going to train you. This is the date that you're going to get your t-shirt. This is the date that we're going to have the internal announcements. This is the date where we're going to, so someone needs to manage the internal project. Someone needs to manage our project. So we have a project manager. We'll be responsible for our stuff. We'll tell you what our dependencies are, but someone needs to manage the project on your side. If there's a change to your business process, someone needs to write the process change as well and go through that. Like, that's a normal thing to do. You can expect your partner to do all of this, but it comes with a cost. Like, there's a cost in the partner providing a BA that knows your business really well or knows your industry really well, and can sit there and for weeks upon weeks rewrite your business processes. It'll take them twice as long because they don't know what the current one is. So that's why you have to have a BA to write your processes, to talk to all the stakeholders internally and really make sure that works. Partners can provide this. So it's not something partners don't do, but it's beneficial to do. So if you're looking at a Salesforce project manager, business analyst are really key roles that you want to put on your side to make the partner successful. Where we see failure is sometimes clients are just naive and they don't think it's required, or they think, I've paid Salesforce, I've paid the Salesforce partner, that's all the money I need to pay, I'm good, walk away. And that's an incorrect way of looking at it. You've got to think about what's your internal cost to support the project, and what's your internal cost after the project is to support the ongoing maintenance and enhancements of that product. The other part of this is that it's incorrect to think that it is a one and done project. The best way to do Salesforce projects is to do an MVP, go live, and then iterate. That's the best way. And anyone that argues with that is incorrect or giving you bad advice. Because Salesforce is a SaaS product, you're paying for every day that you've got access to it. Every day, you're just wasting money if you're not using it. So that's why you shouldn't have a big project and go, let's do a 3-month project and then start to go live. What you should do is MVP your requirements. And when I say MVP, I really mean just use Salesforce. It's already got a data model. It's got a database. If I think of any type of thing I need in my business, if it's, I need to track contacts, accounts, opportunities, leads, contracts, orders, invoices, all of these things, there's a standard data model already, actually not invoices, but there's a standard data model already in place with Salesforce, 90% of the way there. Clients that like enhance it and change it without using the basics, that's incorrect. If it's like buying a Swiss Army knife and then going, oh, I can't use any of these knives because none of them are exactly what I want. I'm going to fashion another knife and I'm going to sellotape it to the Swiss Army knife. I'm going to use the knife that I really exactly want because the other ones aren't quite right. That's what customizing Salesforce is like. It's like you think you've figured it out better than 90 million other businesses that have come in the past and Salesforce have designed their business around. You think you've got a better way of doing it. That's incorrect. There's actually a default way. And if you adjust your business process to the default way, then it's really easy to be successful with Salesforce. If you come at Salesforce and try force it to be something it's not, then you're just going to have a harder time. Like everything you customize in Salesforce, you need to maintain, you need to document, you need to administer that. So yeah, I know that was a bit of a rant to my own question, but how to select a Salesforce partner, you're really looking at what is their background, those 3 different things, technical skills or capability, industry depth, and relevant customer experience. But then you also have to look at yourself and how are you going to dance with that partner, because that's part of the decision. If you want a partner that's going to do everything for you and you just kind of wait until it's done, then that's a specific type of partner, and there are partners that do that, and we can do that as long as we know that that's the arrangement. But if you really want to make it the best dance, you have to come at it, Salesforce come at it as well, and really the 3 of us are dancing together as you get value in an MVP and then iterative fashion. Wonderful. All right. Well, I think I've talked enough for today. This was our first AMA, so thank you so much for your questions, and thank you for the viewers that listen in. Again, I'm going to run this every Thursday, 8 a.m. Different focus, but please, I really look forward to your questions. Great questions. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.